What do you get when you mix baseball and football?
Play ball.
Base footballs?
No. This is Bunts and Bruises. If it's the weekly hot topics in sports, we're talking about it.
We're talking about it.
And we're having fun. Your home for sports and entertainment. We're the best at rolling with the punches. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This is Bunts and Bruises. And here's your host, Bars.
It is I, the one, the only, and I am coming to you from Evansville, Indiana. Yes, I'm on a work trip, as always. What else is new? I know. But shout out to Morning Brew with Stu. He's actually going to be on next week as well for our NFL draft reactions. But we're not here to talk NFL. We are here to have the first ever, the premiere of the first Bunts and Bruises World Series draft. Now, you might be thinking, what the hell is a World Series draft? It took a lot of thinking. My two co-hosts here were asking the same exact questions because it just didn't make sense at first. And then after explaining it 20 times, finally made a little sense. So what we're going to do here, folks, is they're essentially power rankings almost, but not exactly power rankings because power rankings is almost bi-weekly. This is really, you're going with your gut, and we're not even going to agree. We're all taking one. I'm going first. Jerry's going to be second, and Jake is going to be third. And it's going to flip right back, and we're going to go in order of who we think has the best chance to win the World Series, all the way down to the last team of who we think has no chance whatsoever. In my opinion, that's Pirates. Who knows what Jake goes with, but we'll find out. Without further ado, though, let's welcome the one, the only Iceman. And now, of course, friend of the show, reoccurring guest, and new co-host, Jake O'Dowd. Sir, how you doing today?
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely
all right,
fantastic.
guys. So without further ado, I say let's just get right into it because we do want to try and make this a normal episode time length. And, you know, we want to make sure we get everything in before the NFL draft starts because, let's be honest, I want to catch my 2 picks on my Giants. Let's go Giants. All right, so without further ado, I, James Barcia, with the first pick of the World Series draft, go with the one, the only Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't see how you don't go with these guys. I mean, it's the Dodgers. When are they not number one in any chance to win the World Series? They've been number one for like the last 4 or 5 years, if I recall. And they just added Freddie Freeman. So you're adding another MVP, making it a grand total of 4 MVPs now on that squad. And, of course, the pitching is just as stellar as always. And it's the Dodgers. You know, they got better than they were last year, in my opinion. Or not last year, at least 2 years ago. So I don't see how they don't end up number one. There could be an argument for the number 2 spot, I guess, but in my eyes, they just run away with it. What do you think, Jake?
I think this is probably the easiest pick to make. This is probably almost easier than naming the worst team in the league. They are just hands and above, I think, better than, like you said, 2 years ago, if not last year. Losing Max Scherzer, who did fall apart in the playoffs, though. Losing him definitely hurts, but they added Freddie Freeman to kind of replace Corey Seager, who honestly they didn't really think long-term because they had Turner. So I think this team with the best starting pitching in the ERA, their starting pitching is the best in the league right now for the ERA. And that was kind of the biggest question mark coming into the season. The reemergence of Clayton Kershaw has been vital for them.
100%. Also, people forget they were widely injured. Aside from, Max Scherzer falling apart, Clayton Kershaw wasn't healthy last year. Cody Bellinger had no swing. It looks like he's rediscovering it a little bit. So they just got things working for them here. Jerk, you're a man who always likes playing devil's advocate. Is there any reason you think the Dodgers shouldn't be number one overall in this draft?
The only reason you shouldn't think they're number one overall is if you just vehemently hate all LA teams and you're just going to pick them number 2 out of spite. No, the Dodgers are, I know they're the former defending world champs, but to me, like, they could have repeated last year. And I think fully healthy, I really think they would have repeated, all due respect to the Braves run. That Dodgers team last year, 100% healthy with Bellinger back, with Scherzer and Kershaw at 100%. They weren't losing. You can't beat this team 4 times at 100%. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, for sure. Of course. So without further ado, sir, if you don't mind announcing who the number 2 overall pick is in the first ever Bunts and Bruises World Series draft.
I think some people might be a little bit shocked by this, but let's be real here. Like, this team has been phenomenal this season. They had an amazing run late last year. They just missed out on really potentially making things happen in the playoffs. I think this season with a full 162, if they can perform like how they're going now, I think the Toronto Blue Jays, for the first time in a very long time, are a real threat to be a World Series contender this season. I think you think of that young hitting core right there with Guerrero, Bichette, and Biggio, again, saying last names only. You think of the pitching rotation of that team, which isn't even 100% right now. Hyunjin Ryu hasn't looked great to start. Same with Jose Barrios. They fix that pitching, like those two specifically. If they fix things a little bit, they get back to not like elite status. I don't think they've ever been elite, but if they get back to their usual stature in throughout their career, the Blue Jays are going to be a very good team that can compete with anybody. So I got to go with that team as, at least with our order, the second team most likely to win a World Series this year. I think that young core, man, they're dangerous and deadly. I think behind the Dodgers, they're the next team I would be scared of legitimately. They're 1 through 7.
They really are the Dodgers of the North almost, because like you said, the amount of bats they got. You didn't even mention George Springer in there, the free agent they acquired last year. And he started the year off injured as well, and he still ended up with a good season. So if we get a healthy George Springer this year, a year acclimated to that new stadium, who knows what we're going to get. But I do think it is a crazy pick, but I really can't argue it because I am a huge Blue Jays fan. I think they do have a pretty straightforward path to the playoffs as well, aside from the fact that they do have 3 strong competitors in their division. I think it goes without saying they're the number 1 team in that division, and it's their division to lose, in my opinion. Jake, what do you think? Is this a crazy pick in your eyes? Something tells me you kind of agree with it.
I do agree with it, actually. I mean, they're an offensive juggernaut of a team, and Bichette isn't even hitting the ball. He's off to a slow start, and they're still on pace to lead the MLB in home runs. They led the league. They led the league last year. The MLB's in a home run drought, and they don't know about it. So, like I said, they probably arguably have the better starting rotation, outside of Garrett Cole in that division. So they are definitely the next team in line.
BnB drinking game. Take a shot every time Bars mentions something in fantasy, whether it's his team or a player killing him.
You'd end up blacked out by 2 episodes. So, Jake, without further ado, if you don't mind announcing who you believe is the team with the 3rd most likely chance to win the World Series this year.
Call me biased. I'm going my New York Mets, baby.
If you wasn't taking them, I was.
Man, these Mets, off to an electric start. The Kings of April always. So we'll see if we can kind of hold it on through the rest of the year. With Francisco Lindor hitting the way he is, back to his kind of MVP contender days. They just have a great offense. Starling Marte's been huge running to the scoring position. They actually lead the NL in weighted runs created, so that's awesome. Second in the league, only behind the Cubs, I think, on getting on base. 3rd best average in baseball with 255. So, and I believe they also have the most hits in baseball at the moment. So they're hitting the ball, and that was honestly kind of their problem coming into it. Everyone thought was going to be the issue. The issue is now kind of turned to their bullpen, which is slowly but surely kind of shoring itself out. But once they get a healthy Jacob deGrom back, they're going to have the best rotation in baseball. And if their offense can continue to hit like this, there's no reason they can't be the number 2 team in the NL.
I completely agree. It's just there's something different in the air this time. You feel it. And I think it all boils down to, aside from the fact that we acquired all these new players and we got Uncle Steve, who's spending all his money. Thank God for him. But aside from that, it's Buck Showalter. It comes down to that. Simple as that. That we have an adult in the room. We have a brilliant baseball mind who he's not going to let the they're not here anymore. But even if they were, he wouldn't let the owner get in the way. Steve Cohen, he's just letting Buck run whatever he has to do because, he's a proven commodity. It's Buck Showalter. Every other team that didn't sign him looks like they got egg on their face, simple as that, because why wouldn't we sign this guy? Yes, he might be old school, but you know what? Tradition is what wins things anyway. Jerg, do you think we're just being a couple biased Mets fans, or do you think this is the right spot? Because if they weren't going 3, I sure as hell was taking them 4.
Oh, no, I think they deserve to be in the top 4, top 5 of how they've looked this season. This team isn't even 100% because Jacob deGrom isn't starting right now. So when you think of the fact that, once he's back in the lineup, your number 3 becomes your number 4 and your number 2 becomes your number 3 right now, like you just make your team better. And we saw what Jacob deGrom was last season, and if he can come back for this team, and that is a big if right now, because it's going to be a while. I think the first 2-3 months of the season at least.
They said that he's made good progress so far. That was the last report out.
So the last report was he could start throwing, not pitching, just throwing. But you assume he was going to get another MRI in like 6 weeks, which means he ain't really pitching for another 2-3 months, probably, if we're being honest. Honestly, I personally don't think he's pitching at all this season. Call me crazy. It might just be the Met fan in me, but I don't see him doing it, because this is exactly what happened last year. It was, he's not as bad as it looks. And then every time he got put in the tube, he would say he's fine, but then it was obvious he wasn't fine. And then he'd end up back on the IL again. So
maybe Bars, you can pull a Tampa Bay Lightning and just wait until the playoffs happen, get DeGrom in, and then he just goes, DeGrominator on him.
That's not too bad a plan. I would love that.
I just helped you guys win World Series.
You wait like a month after the All-Star break, start tuning him up. Get ready during All-Star break. That's
3 weeks before playoffs, get him a couple warm-ups against the
exactly.
Nationals.
One or two starts before the playoffs. That's it. He's good. You don't need anything else to DeGrom. What? That reason right there might have bumped them up to number 2 in the World Series draft. But yeah, I think it's obvious. It's even in the games right now. I know we're going a little deeper into the Mets right now than other teams, but even when you watch these games, when they seem like they're out of it, they're never out of it, because there's been games where down 4 or 5 runs early, and then we make them right back up. I mean, yes, that is the game of baseball today, but the New York Mets never had that ability. Once they were down, it was over. It was simple as that. There was no coming back.
For sure, this isn't the same team as previous years, the same team that kind of quit on you early. And I think, like you said, he really pays a big kind of contribution to Buck. Buck is baseball. He really is. But Buck is baseball. He's a great manager, great skipper to be leading this team. For
sure. So, with the number 4 overall pick in the World Series draft this pick might shock some people. They wouldn't have been this high when the season started, but with the way they've been playing, I got to give it to them, because they proved me wrong time and time again, and that's going to be the San Francisco Giants. I got them at number 4 in my World Series draft. It's just, they got me again, man. I looked at this roster at the beginning of the season. I said, they got worse, and, it's that run they had last year was all fun, but it looks like that rebuild is finally going to come back. And no, they came back. They lost their ace pitcher in Kevin Gausman, but they did end up getting who they ended up signing, Jake.
Carlos Rodon.
Thank you. Carlos Rodon, who his arm, I thought it was going to fall off last year, but no, he's still going. He is throwing nothing but heat. And honestly, they upgraded, because if you look at the numbers that Kevin Gausman is throwing up in Toronto, he's being all right, but he's not being that almost Cy Young pitcher that was last year. And I swear, I hope they don't, Cruz. If they end up drafting a quarterback in this draft, I will lose it. Thank you. The flow has been getting crazy, though. But as I was saying about the San Francisco Giants, and you got Wilmer Flores right now, former Met, who is just playing like a complete stud. Chris Bryant, he's playing all over the infield, and he's just hitting the ball. I don't have the stats in front of me. I will get them. But, Jake, what do you think about this San Francisco pick? Do you think they could have waited a bit, or do you think this is right around the right spot?
No, I think this is perfect. I think with the 2, 3, and 4, with the Mets, Jays, and Giants, they're all kind of interchangeable. The Giants, I mean, they're the highest scoring run differential in the MLB right now. Right now, they are a little unhealthy with Desclafani. I can't pronounce that name. Him and Alex Cobb both heading to the IL a little early. So we'll kind of see how much depth they have. They're pitching, but I mean, they're just a good ball club, and they're winning games. They're hitting the ball, so you really can't argue.
For sure. And I mean, you would think the retirement of Buster Posey is really what was going to kill them more than anything, because we saw the resurrection of it was old Buster last year. Mm-hmm. But his replacement, the young kid, we mentioned him last one. Damn,
Joey Bart.
Thank you, Joey Bart. I gotta have my notes better. Is when I'm at work, there's too many tabs. I don't got my monitors.
You're in a different state, to be fair.
Exactly, man. I'm in an away town right now. I usually I'm playing up north. It's cold up here, But regardless, Joey Bart, he's not playing as great as we were talking. He was going to play in our early season reward show, Jake, but he is still putting up good numbers for a rookie catcher. And the backup catcher as well actually has been outplaying Joey Bart. So that's just it's a bunch of things. Somehow San Francisco always figures out how to do it. Jerg, You got any last comments on San Francisco being the number 4 pick here?
I just find it funny you mentioned Chris Bryant there. I'm like, wait, Chris Bryant's on Colorado. Is he going with the Giants or the Rockies right now? His bar's going way off the board here.
Well, no, Chris Bryant was with them last year, and they ended up losing him.
I get what you meant. I was just like, wait, Chris Bryant, what? So, but no, like I agree. Like me and Jake were actually talking about before the show really got going. It's like the 2 through 4, like you could put them in any order. No one's going to disagree with you. Like I think there is a resounding consensus that those are the 4 teams and those are 3 of the top 4 in the league. And like you're splitting hairs between them. Like I could have gone Giants with my pick at number 2 as well, and I don't think we would have argued. Like that's just how good these teams are. Yeah.
So without further ado, who do you take with your number 5 pick?
It's really interesting. Because there's some really good like teams right now. Some of them to me have flaws. I think I'm kind of going out here with this team. I think I'm going out here with this pick. Their pitching is astounding. It's just their hitting is the main concern. But if they could just get hot at the right time, I think that they would be able to make a run. I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Brewers here. Their pitching is still just as great as it was last season. Corbin Burns is still probably, you could argue, the best pitcher in the National League right now. Their bullpen isn't like aces like as great as it was last season, but they still have, you could say, the best reliever in the game in Josh Hader. You know, for the most part, this pitching rotation is still good. They're going to round about into form. And what's his name? The kid Ashby has an ERA of just 2.65 right now in his he started 2 games. So he's doing fine for himself. You know, Lauer for them is doing pretty good. He's got a 2.2 ERA. The pitchers are doing their job. The hitting is the main issue with this team, just like it was, you know, when I picked them against when I picked the Braves against them last year in the playoffs. Like the main thing about this team is the hitting. There are some good hitters. I think Willie Adames has had some, you know, shown some power recently. Andrew McCutchen, he's just having a career renaissance here. I guess leaving Pittsburgh does do good for the soul. I think ultimately the main thing with this team is if their MVP can come back. We have not seen Christian Yelich on a baseball diamond since 2019. Now, he's technically been there, but he's not really been there when you think about it. If he can somehow, some way, I know this is the 3rd straight year of us having to say it, so I think we need to really start questioning it here. But if he can round back into, not even MVP form, I don't think that's fair, but like really good player form. If he can round out to like what Chris Bryant, funny enough, was last season for the San Francisco Giants, I think the Brewers would be in a lot better of a position. Like had MVP Yelich been on that team last year, I maybe would have actually considered picking them against the Braves in funny enough, the NLDS. So I just think the hitting needs to round about. We've played 20 games so far. They have 140 more games to figure it out when it comes to the hitting. And I think Milwaukee, how good the pitching is, like don't waste this opportunity. Get some hitters around those arms, and I think they can make a run. Like people forget they challenged the Dodgers a couple years back when the Dodgers made the World Series. They went to Game 7. Like this is a team that can compete with the best of the best in the NL.
You know what? I gotta say, I really don't think I think that Christian Yelich, I think that version of him is gone. I think it's in the past. He had a bad year, that COVID year. It wasn't really injury related, but last year he started suffering back injuries. And in baseball, man, that's the killer right there because that's everything. It's your whole core. It's your twist. It's your throw. Mm-hmm. And it's not even just like regular back injuries. It's that lower back. And once you start dealing with that, it's like Larry Bird when he had his back injuries. He was laying on his stomach middle of games just to try and keep playing. So
he was still dropping buckets, though.
Still dropping buckets, but you know, if Christian Yelich was Larry Bird, right, he'd be killing it.
That's why I'm saying fine, not MVP. Like if he could just at least get 250, like he's below 200 right now.
Yeah, he is. He's hitting like 184.
That's asking a lot right now, man. It's just, and I'm a huge Christian Yelich fan because when he was in Miami, Keith Hernandez, the Mets were playing him. Keith Hernandez said it. That's a kid who's going to end up winning Silver Slugger Award. And what's it called? And he ended up doing it, you know? And he ended up becoming the best batter in the league. So you really hope you can see him. I mean, for Milwaukee to make a serious run, they need him to be more of like 280 with, you know, anywhere from 25 to 30 home runs.
I'll settle for 250.
250 might not be enough. But Jake, what do you think about this pick? I do gotta say the rotation is probably the best part of this pick, as you said. But it is that offense. Jake, you gotta agree, or
it was a little early for my liking, to be honest, a little too sweet for me. But I mean, it's hard to argue. Corbin, like you said, Corbin Burns is probably one of my favorite players in the MLB. The man's a beast, just an absolute strikeout machine, dude. He can throw the ball, he really can. Other than that, I also don't think Christian Yelich will be coming back to form anytime soon. Unfortunately, he is on one of my fantasy teams. Boo hoo me. But I don't see it in the Brewers being a legit contender this year just because I don't see their bats fully coming through.
I can't escape the fantasy this year with anybody. For sakes, bars.
I mean, hey, he's in the same league, so you're probably going to hear it a couple more times now, Jared.
Well, I'm submitting my vacation time early.
So, Jake, I believe you are 6th right now in fantasy, and you're 6th in the draft. So why don't you go ahead and make your pick?
I thought I was 3rd. Oh, wow. Is it that bad now? Oh. So, yeah, my pick would probably, who I would have taken 5th, would have been the New York Yankees. And just another team that's kind of got an absolute juggernaut of an offense. They have the highest hard hit percentage in baseball, as long as the highest barrel percentage in baseball, as well as the highest exit velocity in baseball. Also top 10 in OPS. Their offense is an absolute juggernaut. The question is going to be about their pitching. I mean, we know what Garrett Cole is. We know what he is. Will Severino kind of come back to his form? I'm hoping for them, for their sake, realistically. But with that offense, it doesn't really matter. They can put up 5-6 runs on any given day at any time. So they're probably my next best pick, with DJ LeMahieu having a good year, looking like he's kind of back to where he was. So they have a very, very complete offense.
Yeah, I'm glad to see DJ LeMahieu. He's really like one of the handful of Yankees I like. I'm glad to see him be back to form, because when he got signed out of Colorado, a lot of people were saying he wasn't going to be that good a player because he doesn't have the thin air as much. But I said, you know what? I've seen this guy bat, and Jerg knows I say it all the time. I actually got this saying from your dad. He's just a baseball guy. He loves playing baseball. And it's just like, what does that mean? Like, you just know when you hear it, So I'm glad to see DJ LeMahieu finally come back to form. But you're right. Realistically, it's the same thing as always that's been holding them back, and it's their pitching. And they need Garrett Cole to be that $300 million man. And he has not been anything like that $300 million man. You got to really start wondering at this point if it's the sticky stuff, because you look at Chapman as well. And, yeah, he's not doing as bad, but he doesn't have that dominating stuff he used to anymore. When you're throwing like 100 miles per hour, it's not really – a fear of control. It's like slight fear of control. You want to feel more controlled because you're throwing 100 miles per hour. You can hurt people with that. So, that it gets more in your head than it actually is with you're messing up anything with your form or anything. It's a confidence thing, more likely. Jerg, how do you feel about this pick? I say they fit in right here. Unfortunately, Jake once again took my pick because I was going to take him next, so Jake didn't take him. So what do you think here about this Yankees pick?
Jake may have screwed me because I think you're going to take the team that I wanted to pick next. So damn you, Jake.
Domino effect.
Dang you. No, like the Yankees, like I agree with his points. Like the hitting is the big thing with this team, but we have seen those bats die in the postseason before, and I would not be surprised if we see them die in the postseason again. And that's my ultimate concern with this team. Garrett Cole, I think no matter what, he proved to me last season, even if he struggles at any point, I still think he's going to be, he can bounce back. He's going to be supremely talented. He vaulted himself back into AL Cy Young candidacy late last season. I think he's going to do it again. I have no concerns with him. It's the rest of that rotation that I'm concerned about. I know Severino's looked like relatively good to start early this season, and personally, I remember him thinking that if he could be their number 2, and maybe that's what they needed. But like that pitching is just always going to be a concern for me, no matter what. Like the Yankees fans were not happy that they did not address that pitching rotation more for several off seasons now, and I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back to bite them again.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they had every right to be upset that this rotation wasn't addressed, because everyone else in their division addressed their rotation or made other significant additions, which, as I said before the season even started, I personally thought the Yankees got worse. And I mean, I ain't going to say anything yet. It's a little too early, but it's kind of looking like somebody might have been right. But either way, we'll save that for a different episode. We'll see a couple months down the line. But I do agree. They had to address that rotation. Severino, if he could somehow find a way back, which he is looking great this year again. I won't even lie. When the season started, I saw on ESPN something about Severino, and I was like, holy shit, he's still on the Yankees. I completely forgot. Because, I mean, that's how he's been, in and out. But great pick, Jake. Great pick. So with the next pick, which I do think I am going to screw Jerg over with this pick. This team hasn't really done anything too crazy, but they've always been a good team.
Dang it.
Gotta wait for those bats to come alive. I am taking the Houston Astros here.
But it's still there.
What do you thought I was going to take? He's taking Atlanta then, because that was my other pick. But anyway, I'm taking the Houston Astros here because, yes, this team might not look as good as it has in past years, but they got their ace back, Justin Verlander, and he is looking good again. The sticky stuff, I guess he had a whole year to practice without it because he is looking good. Right now, it's a matter of them getting a little healthy because Ryan Presley is injured, so they're kind of running closer by committee. I only know that because Hector Neris is on my fantasy team. Take a shot. But other than that, you need the young bats to really come alive. Kyle Tucker, he's been hot of recent. He hit 2 home runs back to back the last 2 days. Jordan Alvarez is playing nothing like himself. I believe he's batting under 100 right now. But that's not going to last. He is too talented of a man. And Jose Altuve just got injured. He's on the IL for 10 days. So it's early in the season. I'm not panicking because at the end of the day, this team, albeit they did lose Carlos Correa. Jeremy Pena has been a solid fill-in. He's no Carlos Correa, yes, but were you really getting Carlos Correa last year? I mean, he was in and out with a back injury as well with Christian Yelich. And with the money that Minnesota paid, I say it's a ticket grabber, but you know what? If I was the Astros, I don't believe he was worth it either, especially with the young kid coming in. Jerg, what's your reaction? Because you really thought I was going to go with a different team, so I guess we're not on each other's head that much.
It's being in vastly different states. We're way too far away to have that strong connection right now. No, honestly, I don't blame you with the Astros selection. Like, I think despite the slow start, I think the Astros are always going to be a World Series contender at some point. Like, I agree with you. Anyone who starts on that team, like, expect them to heat up very soon. Jordan Alvarez is an AL MVP candidate for several years to come. Like, Bregman's there, Altuve, Verlander being back. They got a squad. Like, I think even last season they started off slow and everyone was like pegging the Athletics to end up winning that division. Like, it's not gonna, like, I don't care who's above them in the AL West right now. Like, they deserve to be favorites until like we're like 80 games in and they're like 30 and 50. Then it's like, oh, what the heck happened here? Like, until we get to that point, which we probably won't get to that point, like, that's when you can worry. Until then, like, the Astros are the Astros and they deserve that. They have the reputation.
Yeah, and I completely forgot about Bregman because he was having a bad year last year, but it looks like we're getting the old Alex Bregman back this year. He started off hot. Let's see if he can keep it up. The only issue with this team, I gotta say, is the rotation. That is what scares you. But with, you got the young kid Framil Reyes, who hopefully he could be a solid number 2, like we said, Justin Verlander. Jake, you seemed a little shocked I went with the Astros. Is there any specific reason why, or you think it's, again, a little too sweet for your liking?
I think they're a top 10 team. It's a little sweet for my liking. I thought you would want the Rays here, to be honest, or the Mariners. But, I mean, the Astros are a good team. Like, you have to put respect on their name, like he said. And kind of until someone knocks them off their crown in that division or off their throne, you got to put respect on their name. They have a legitimate offense. I hope Verlander kind of stay healthy, and we'll see with his fatigue issues throughout the rest of the year. But if their pitching kind of just shell up, their offense is going to be there, especially, like you said, when Kyle Tucker turns it around, because he will turn it around.
I mean, like I said, 2 home runs back to back. Fingers crossed he turns it around because, take a drink, he's on my fantasy team. Your turn now with the Jerg is like, I picked the worst. Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it's your
yes,
turn.
yeah.
Sorry, my apologies. Jerg, you're looking like I picked the wrong episode to be on with all these fantasy references. But go ahead, Jerg. Your selection.
Well, real quick, only because you said to.
Yeah.
One drink for every fantasy reference. Yep, that's 3 so far. I think I've ironically taken a drink after every one. I didn't mean to do it on purpose, but that's going to be the gag. No, so my pick, honestly, it's funny. I didn't even have. It's not because I don't think they're great. It's just my next pick was not even the Rays or the Mariners. Funny enough, I got a team that they're not 100% right now, and I think once they get these 2 big names back, I think they are going to be a real favorite. They fell off hard last season. I think they are. It looks like they're growing from it. I got the San Diego Padres as my next team in this draft. Look, this team is just not 100% right now, and they are still 13-7, and it's going to be the same case as last season, where like they probably will finish behind the Giants and the Dodgers, but I don't think that's going to be the same case as it's going to screw them over this year. Right now, Manny Machado's doing great. Eric Hosmer is outstanding hitting. It feels like he's going to hit the ball half the time when he's up there.
Mets made that trade.
Jurickson Profar may not be like hitting great, but when he does hit, he just smacks away home runs and RBIs. They need Nola, Voit, and Myers to be a little bit better, but I think those 2, like Voit is known for his power. He's going to get his power back, and I think Nola and Myers are mainly there for defense. If they could just slightly get that batting average a little bit more up there, I think it'll be fine. But the 2 main pieces that need to come back for this team, Mike Clevenger, who's I think recently completed his 3rd rehab start, who's going to add to that pitching rotation that already includes Yu Darvish and Sean Manaea. I think they're going to be fine. And then, of course, Fernando Tatis, you get him back. That's your superstar back. That's your franchise back. So there's that. And I think Hassan Kim, who they got in the offseason as well, he's off to a relatively good start. I want to say he could be a little bit better, but I don't think he's doing too bad. Like, this team is doing good, and they still need 2 big stars back. Even though I don't think they're better than this team, obviously the Mets are the better team, but the Mets are waiting for DeGrom. These guys are like the Padres are doing the same thing. They're waiting for some franchise guys, and I think when they get them, they're going to be even better. So I got the Padres as my third team.
Another guy you forgot to mention, Blake Snell, who he hasn't had the greatest year last year, but he's still pitched like 170 strikes.
That pitching rotation, if that pitching rotation is 100%, I'm not going to say that all of them being at their peak, but if they are healthy, like you're sweating because like
for sure
they could run a 4-man rotation in the postseason. Usually it's 3 guys. They could run a 4-man rotation and be even fresher.
They could run a 5-man rotation. To be honest, there's not a single weak person there. I mean, if Clevenger comes back to anywhere near what he was, Jake, do you think this was the right pick to go with instead of my pick, or?
The Padres is a good pick, like you said. I mean, a couple of years ago when they got you Darvish and all these kind of players, they were considered the at the time with the Dodgers and kind of that high standard in the MLB. So he's right. If they're healthy and they can kind of put it all together, especially that pitching staff, I mean, they can easily make a run in the postseason with that pitching, and they have a great offense, especially the healthy Fernando Tatis coming in probably mid-year or at the end of the year. You know, it's a good pick. It's definitely a good pick for sure. But I do hate Blake Snell. I think he's bad at baseball. He's not good at baseball. I'm sorry.
I mean, hey man, you knew he wasn't good at baseball once the Rays traded him. Anytime the Rays trade anyone, I'm just like, what's wrong with him? You're never winning a trade against the Rays. But speaking of the Rays, something tells me that's going to be your pick right here, Jake. Am I right?
It is actually. I love that. I love what the Rays do. Kind of not what they do for baseball, but kind of what they do for themselves. They play good baseball. They got one of the lowest payrolls. They have Wander Franco is an absolute animal, kind of looks as great as advertised, you know. So I love the Rays here. I think I think they're kind of limited on star power. I think that's kind of what will kind of be their overall downfall until maybe Wander Franco really rises to like that MVP that he's looking like he will be. But the Rays are definitely the pick here for me.
I think they are lacking a little star power compared to years prior, because they would the Rays are kind of like the island of misfit toys where they just pick up a waiver guy here, sign a guy there, and then all of a sudden they resurrect their whole career there in Tampa Bay. What I got to say up against this year compared to prior years where they were showing real dominance is their offense is looking slightly better, but their pitching rotation has taken a huge major dive, in my opinion. So, like you said, they're the Rays. They're still going to get business done because the analytics squad there, Kevin Cash.
Unmatched.
It's just, you can't, exactly. It's just the brain power there you can't compare it. Jurg, any final remarks here on this Rays pick we might have missed?
No, for us, all we know that, come the trade deadline, they're going to take like the 4th starter off like the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that guy's going to end up having like a 2.5 ERA and like 10 strikeouts a game with them.
Exactly.
Like they just know how to do these things. I'm with you. The main thing is just I'm with Bars. Like their pitching is weaker than it was the last couple seasons. That's the only reason I picked the Padres over them. But just necessarily speaking, like the Rays, I think still have at least another 2 to 3 year window here where they deserve to belong in the top 10 conversation. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. And without further ado, my next pick, as a Mets fan, it hurts, but, I got to do it. I believe this is the 10th pick of the World Series draft here in the Buns and Bruises. I am going with the Atlanta Braves, the reigning World Series champs. They did it last year, and a lot of people going into this year said they could do it again. And he just got activated today, as a matter of fact. Ronald Acuna, their MVP, is finally back. Yes, they did lose former reigning MVP Freddie Freeman, but they replaced him with Matt Olson. Let me tell you, that's like almost not a downgrade whatsoever, because Matt Olson is hands down. If it's Freddie Freeman 1, Matt Olson is number 2 when it comes to first baseman in the MLB. And you got the young kids looking good. Austin Riley, he's continuing that hot season he had from last year. You want to see Dansby Swanson get a little better, but more than anything, they did upgrade their rotation a little bit. You got Kenley Jansen closing for you now. Will Smith, your setup man. That starting rotation is still looking a little iffy, but you know what? Somehow they always get it done. Ian Anderson's been looking like a stud. So I think they'll be able to put it together to make another run here. Jake, what do you think about this pick? You got anything against it?
I don't have anything against it. I mean, them getting Matt Olson was honestly a great deal. They got a younger player on a smaller deal than Freddie Freeman, who's going to put up just about less, just under his production. So that was a great deal by them. They have Ozzy Albies and Ronald Acuna. It looks like he's ahead of his rehab schedule, so that's fantastic. If they can get healthy and then get their starting pitching healthy, I mean, they easily can make a run for the top spot in that division with the Mets. So I can't argue the pick. I just hope they can get healthy.
Jurg, you kind of had this shocked face when I made this pick. I said because I'm a Mets fan, something tells me you thought I was going to go Philly here. Am I right?
I thought so, just because I feel like the Braves' slow start to the season. I think it's going to take them a little bit longer to get out of it than we hope, because I think Acuna, it's going to take a little bit of time for him to really get back into it. But really, when you think about it, I've always subscribed to the notion of to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. And I think until the Atlanta Braves are fully out of the playoff picture, whether it be missing the playoffs or getting knocked out in the playoffs, they are the defending World Series champions for a reason. They've done it once. Dang it, it can happen again. So I think the Atlanta Braves do deserve it. I definitely did think Phillies, though. Like, I'm not going to lie. I thought you would have picked Phillies just because I feel like the Braves are a team that some people may like. It might slip. Like, they could be a team that slips and you could get some great value with them in this.
They won the World Series. How do they slip out of your mind? They just won. I mean, it is Atlanta, though. Shout out to the Hoopers. Jurg, with your next pick in the World Series draft, who do you take here?
I am taking, funny enough, again, me and Jake, we were talking about this team prior to the show starting. I got to go with the team that always somehow finds a way to make magic happen here and there with whatever dark magic that they have, the deal with the devil that they made like 2.5 decades ago. Well, I'm going to go with the St. Louis Cardinals here. I just think this is the definition of a team that just has some pretty good hitting, pretty good pitching. There's not there's some star names, but there's not like superstar power on either side, but they are just so good. Like they can beat you. Like you talk about guys being baseball players. This is just a baseball team, bars, and they have been this way for a very long time. The St. Louis Cardinals in our lifetimes have just been that team that always finds a way to show up at the end of the season in some way, shape, or form. And dang it, they're probably going to end up doing that again this year for all we know. Like they were the one team that we were all like, oh God, they could beat the Dodgers in that one game. And like, what a season it would have been if the Dodgers had lost with all those wins, not being able to be past a wild card team because of the way the baseball playoffs set up, and they lose to the Cardinals in one game. Like, it's wild. But like, the hitting is still fine. You have Goldschmidt, Arenado there, Carlson, Tyler O'Neill. We were talking about before. I was talking about before with Jake. They're two very underrated guys. And then the pitching rotation as a whole, Nicholas is just a very underrated player overall as a pitcher, but he is absolutely outstanding. Wainwright and Hudson are fine. Steven Matz, it looks like he's going through like a bad spell right now, but his ERA was like 3.3, 3.4 last year, which if they could just get it back down to that, they'll be fine. Like, this team just finds a way to pull it out every single time. I won't be surprised if they're in the conversation come late in the season once again, because it has been like that for our entire lifetimes. I have never had a year in my life where the St. Louis Cardinals were not still in the playoff hunt or in the playoffs by like game 150. It just doesn't happen. They're too good.
I gotta agree with everything you say, but respectfully, I think Jake agrees with me here. F the Cardinals. F the Cardinals. I hope someone charges the mound next time the Mets play the Cardinals. For those of you who don't know, Cardinals and the Mets clear benches. Cardinals coach hurt Pete Alonso. I hope someone gets hurt next series. No one on the Mets. I hope there's violence. But regardless, Jake, I think you got to agree. I agree definitely with all of that. There's never been a bad year with the St. Louis Cardinals. They're kind of like the Giants. Every time I consider them out, they find their way in. It's just they got it. It's one of those traditional classic baseball teams.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably a top 3 organization in the MLB. They're, like you said, just like the Giants, they're always kind of going to be good. What's great about them is, I mean, they're probably the best defensive team in baseball with Tommy Edman, Paul DeJong, and Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt. That infield's kind of insane. And then, like I said, Jurg said, Dylan Carlson's probably one of the more underrated players in baseball. So that is always enticing. And they just find a way to get it done. They play baseball. They are a baseball team. You're not gonna win off errors. You're gonna have to grind games out with them. You're gonna have to really, really look for their mistakes and take advantage.
And you know what? We're getting up to that part of the draft where I'm going to look for your guys' mistakes and take advantage. So, Jake, what mistake are you going to make here with the 12th overall pick of the World Series draft?
It's tough. This is a tough pick. It really kind of hinges down to how much I actually believe in the Mariners, which I kind of do. And I'm going to take the Mariners with 12 overall here. Young team. They're a sneaky good baseball team. The surgeons kind of this year of Logan Gilbert and his huge start, if he can kind of continue that, I mean, he has been shut down so far. They are 4th in the league in the OPS. They have the highest walk percentage so far. So they're seeing pitches. They're making pitchers work. If that can kind of just lead up and their offense kind of stay there with Winker being a huge pickup when the Reds decided to salary dump him for no reason. I really like the Mariners here. I think their offense can kind of be legit. If their pitching kind of stay the way it has, they're going to be a low key contender that's going to definitely be in the hunt in the wild card spots.
No, for sure. I feel like, Mariners fans, I said that's a mistake, but it really isn't. I feel like Mariners fans have every right to be upset right now because they're a team that won 90 games last year. That young core it's looking great. And that's that Jared Kalinick hasn't even really got off to that hot start because everyone's saying he's going to be a superstar.
Or J-Rod, same thing,
Or J-Rod, exactly. But J-Rod's first year. Kalinick,
it's true. Also true.
You better start picking it up. And they added the reigning AL Cy Young Award winner. It makes sense that if you meet a Mariners fan and they're very upset, they have every reason to be upset. Jurg, you got to agree with this pick, or you think that he should have gone somewhere else?
I don't argue it, but I'm kind of still on the fence on the Mariners personally. Robbie Ray isn't looking the same as he did last season. I just think the jury's still out on this team. I know they had the great end to the season. I know they had 90 wins, but let's be real here. This is the same team that a couple years ago they started 14-2 for a season, and then they completely fell off the face of the earth. And did they even win 80 games that year? Maybe they just barely got it. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to blame the pick. I think they are better than previous years, but I'm still very much on the fence because there are still a couple questions I have about this team. But if he picks them at 12, I don't think that's a mistake. They're playing like a top 12 team this season so far.
I was about to say they're about 12 right there. Okay, so with the 13th overall pick in the Bunts and Bruises, I am stretching this out as long as I can. World Series draft. I am going with, at 13, this is a pick that might surprise everyone, the Los Angeles Angels. I'm buying into the hype. I'm doing it. Can Mike Trout stay healthy? Can Shohei bring the show? I'm buying into the hype. I say this is the year that they discover how to get it all done. And it's going to be magic over there. Angels in the outfield, baby. That's it. This is the crazy pick I'm making. And I already see you guys are disagreeing with it. Jake, what's your first initial thoughts here?
I want the Angels to be really good just because it'd be so good for baseball. I mean, you have Mike Trout, who arguably was probably the best in his sport, if not the best athlete kind of in the world at one point. And then you have Shohei Ohtani, who's bringing a whole new aspect to this game. So you really want them to be good. I don't think their pitching will be there. I think just having Noah Syndergaard kind of having a great year, don't get me wrong, I still think that's enough.
Hey, you got Showtime, baby.
Yeah, Showtime, he's great, but I just don't think it's enough. Anthony Rendon just can't seem to hit the red side of a barn. So that's, you know what I mean?
He started picking it up. No, I thought he was picking it up the last week.
He's got a couple hits now. That's good.
He's getting it all together right now, And you got Joe Adele out there once he starts figuring it out as well. Don't sleep on them, let me tell you, because Jared Walsh, if he has the same year he had last year as their starting first baseman, he's gonna. Let me tell you, there's a reason why. What's his name? Albert Pujols is back in St. Louis, and that's because my man Jared Walsh. But another thing is you're sleeping on, yes, their rotation. It doesn't really go deeper than Noah Syndergaard. I do give you that. But they do hit runs, and their bullpen. You got Raciel Iglesias, who, let me tell you, man throws heat. He's one of the better closers in the league. And you got Ryan Tepera, who was essentially the Cubs closer last year. So, and then Archie Bradley and a couple other names that they're not bad. They're not bad. Don't sleep on them.
They have a good team. Anthony Rendon's definitely not what he was with the Nationals. If Joe Adele can kind of just grasp any form of that ability that he was kind of projected to have, they'll be okay.
And Jurg, without further ado, after me taking Los Angeles Angels, who do you take with the 14th overall pick?
We're slowly starting to enter the territory where it's we're really starting to kind of reach here. So I think our next couple picks will probably be the last few where we have some real confidence, and then the rest is just going to be us picking for the heck of it. But I got the Minnesota Twins actually for my next selection, mainly because I've gone 3 NL teams in a row, and I got to go back to the AL before all the good ones are taken here. But really early this season, it's kind of surprising the way the Twins have are doing this. I'm going to be surprised if they can maintain this. I'm kind of 50-50 on if they will. But as of right now, they have 3 main starting pitchers in this rotation who all have ERAs of 3 or less, and 2 of them have ERAs below 1.5. Now, it's not going to maintain. Like, I guarantee you that. It's not going to maintain. But Ryan, Ober, and Bundy have been really good to start the season for this team, giving them a chance to win whenever they start. Chris Archer actually looks like a decent MLB pitcher this season, which I think, like, you get that out of him. Like, you just kudos to the organization. And for the most part, like they're doing it based off of pitching right now, which I think you would have looked at it at the beginning of the season. You would have thought the hitting would be what would help this team ultimately. And the hitting is fine to this point, but it's not like all the way there. Miguel Sano and Gary Sanchez specifically, like, are not exactly doing great. So if this team can just pick it up a little bit in terms of hitting, they actually could be a threat here to, maybe make a little bit of noise. I'm not fully confident in them, but I just look at how they're starting the season right now. They're starting it better than most. And I think we need to kind of take that into account if they could maybe rack up some wins early here and continue to at least, keep the formula, not exactly the stats. So I'm going to run with the Minnesota Twins. It's not like it's the least confident I've been in any selection so far, but I will say they have the best run differential in their division. And to me, run differential eventually matters in going into the season.
It's not a bad pick, but it's just something about Minnesota. They always have that run differential when it's in the regular season. The moment they're in the playoffs, they get just spanked.
Hey, you got to get there though, and they have a better chance than a lot of the remaining teams to get there.
All right, so we are at the halfway point in teams for our World Series draft. Jake, who do you take at the middle point with the 15th overall pick?
15th overall. This pick might surprise people, but I am going with a team that was probably written off, and that's going to be the Cleveland Guardians.
Wow.
Yeah, they've had a good start in baseball. There are teams like the Red Sox and Phillies and the White Sox that are kind of underperforming right now that are eventually going to be better. But Cleveland's having a good year, and they look like a decent ball team. They're right now top 10 in the league in batting average, run per game, and OPS. And although it is early, Jose Ramirez looks like a true MVP candidate. Shane Bieber looks good. If that team is going to be solely based on if Jose Ramirez can stay healthy and be productive in that middle of the lineup, and I do see them in the hunt for the playoffs. So that's I like them here in kind of the mid pack. Like I said, I think they were written off, but I like them here in the middle.
I like that pick. I'm not gonna lie, call me off guard, but you're right. Jose Ramirez, stud, and Shane Bieber also stud. Another team that they were lost for a year or two, but Cleveland's another one of those baseball teams that just always figures it out, and then they end up being there in the run towards the end. So with the 16th overall pick, I'm going to pick another team that some people have written off already. They're not off to the greatest start this year.
I know who you're going with.
They were off to a hot start last year, but they suffered a lot of injuries, and it looks like injury bug is hitting them right now. Jerk, go ahead. Just make the pick for me.
You're going with the Chicago White Sox.
Yes, I am, sir. I got a little crush on them. So I am going with the Chicago White Sox. They still got that young core. It's just right now you're a little worried about Tony La Russa and his relationship with the team because it's looking a little shaky with the way this year started. But once you get a couple W's under you, everything starts smoothing out usually. And Dylan Cease, he's looking like he's about to have another good year. And unfortunately, they did lose Carlos Rendon and Lance Lynn. But hey, they still look like a good team. And I think this middle spot's perfect because, like I said, people ran them away, but we could very well see towards the end of the year they're back up there because Eloy Jimenez is injured and Luis Roberts just hasn't been batting the way he should. He's another player who I believe is under 200 in batting average. So once that bat wakes up, you think you're going to see them shoot up. Jerk, who do you take with your 17th pick?
I'm kind of torn here because there's a team that I want to go with here, but I think they'll still be on the board next go around. So I'm just going to go with these guys just to further piss off the Mets fans that are in this podcast. I'm going to go with Philadelphia Phillies here. I know that they've been the team that people have picked the last 2 years, but I think you can really look at the last 2 years and just keep on saying that they still need to add more. I think you can maybe still make that case here, but I just think like this is a better version of this team than we saw in previous seasons. I think they've done a better job within the last summer or so to try to fix things. I think the Phillies right now, my mindset is if you're not performing at your best right now and you can get better, what are you going to be like when your guys start to hit? And Kyle Schwarber is just there to be a home run hitter and yell at Joe West and Angel.
It was bad call. It was a bad call.
No, I'm just saying, like he's here to yell at the umpires, which I just absolutely love. But Castellanos and Bryce Harper are great. Baum is good. Segura, if he could get things back going. JT Realmuto can, really find, like, his batting average is fine, but if he could really find his swing, he'll be good. The pitching rotation just needs to be good enough, and there are some names in this rotation. Gibson is fine. Nola and Eflin. I thought the L was before the F there for a second, but Eflin, like, those three are fine. Zach Wheeler, take with that what you will. But if they could perform, to a pretty good extent, like, I think they could make a run. They have the talent to do so, and I'm gonna go with that. And at the end of the day, it could just end up being a situation where do or die. Castellanos is gonna hit a home run to left field, and it'll make it a 4-0 ball game. And Phillies are gonna make something happen.
There's nothing better than that meme.
You're crazy if you thought that wasn't being mentioned.
Jake, who do you take with your next pick? Fingers crossed you'll take my team, which I think was the team Jerg was referring to before as well.
Give me the Colorado Rockies.
Wow, that was the team I was going with.
Give me the Rocks. Off to an impressive start this year. I don't know why they're good at baseball, but they are. Signed to Chris Bryant. He's been great for them, playing good defense. First time playing all over the field. Randall Grichuk. I mean, the pitching is always going to be the problem no matter what you're in Coors Field, but they're doing a pretty good job. They signed Kyle Freeland to a bigger deal. So if they can hold up, I mean, their offense is going to be – the offense looks somewhat legitimate, though. It's early, I know. And if they don't fall off, I like the Rockies to be that kind of surprise team right now, that dark horse team for a playoff spot.
Man, I was thinking about going with them earlier, but
it's hard.
Like,
it's just so hard. It's the Rockies. Like, you don't want to be just stupid. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't think they couldn't go any earlier. You can only go later with this team. You know what I mean? It's just I just don't want to be called stupid here. Like when they fall off halfway through the year. You know what I mean? Like, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, can't blame you at all. That's why I was like, should I make that pick? And I was like, I'm gonna let someone else do it.
Yeah, I'll make it. I made it for all of us.
So we appreciate you
sacrificing for us.
With my pick for the, I believe it's 18th now, right?
19th.
If I'm wrong. 19th. I can't count for the life of me. With the 19th overall pick in the Bunts and Bruises World Series draft, I'm going to go with the Boston Red Sox because, they are looking great right now. Their pitching is a problem, but their pitching has always been a problem as of late. So I think this team, if they can figure out offensively what they're trying to, be essentially, do you want to be that power hitting team or do you want to be that team that plays more small ball? They could really do it all with the batters they have. It's just more their pitching is what's going to hold them back. Their bullpen, it's in shambles. When you have Hansel Robles as your closer, when it was supposed to be Matt Barnes, but he's throwing like 8 miles per hour less than he was last year. And they do need to get a little healthy because I think JD is also dealing with a little something, but they do got pieces here. And they are the Red Sox. They are one of those teams like all the other teams we mentioned where they're just baseball teams and they always find a way to get it towards the end. So you got to wonder if they got enough with that tough division. They are right now in that bottom of that division. It's kind of looking like the death division. So we'll see what happens towards the end of the year. Jerk, who do you have with the 20th overall pick?
I am actually going to change my mindset and mid pick as I'm kind of looking over things here. I wouldn't have picked this team honestly, but you know what? I'll take a chance because if their pitching can just get it together, I think it will be interesting. I'm actually just going to go with the Miami Marlins. I like this team. This is the funny part. Their pitchers, like, I feel like the pitchers are taking turns on a year-by-year basis on when they're going to be good. Like, it was Rogers, like, last year, the year before. No, it was Alcantara in 2020. It was Rogers last year, and now it's Lopez this year. Like, if these three could just all do it in the same season, I think the Marlins might actually end up being a good team. The pitching is just doing a great job. If they could all come together as one, like, they'll be really good. But the main thing is the hitting, and that's the big concern. Although they do have a young guy in Jazz Chisholm, like that kid, I want more of him to just be electric and like, him trying to take his time and the umpire tells him to hurry the hell up, and then he's just like, all right, and just like smacks a home run. And I wish he pimped out the strut more. Like, I want these guys to pimp out those home runs.
I would have took my sweet time.
Oh
with that
my
strut,
God!
let me tell you,
he should have. I was disappointed, but no. Like, I think if they could just get it together, if the hitting can really bring it together, and just like one more pitcher gets in a groove, I think the Marlins could be at least in playoff contention midway, and they might actually make a move or two at midway point of the season. I'm just going to go with the Miami Marlins. You never know. They've gone on 2 massive World Series runs before, so.
Hey, you're not wrong. They also got the kid Jesus Sanchez, also on my fantasy team, as well as Trevor Hours. Just saying. So, either way. Jake, who do you go with your 21st overall pick?
It's rough because the Marlins are going to be my pick if you didn't take them. Their pitching rotation is interesting. I also did mention Jesus Luzardo is having a pretty good year this year. But furthermore, I guess I'm going to have to go with the Tigers. who I thought were going to be a little better. I think they're off to a slow start. I sort of like that they did this offseason, bringing in Javi Baez, Spencer Torkelson, who I think is going to heat up a little bit during the year. But I think they're a sneaky good ball team with a lot of good players over there in Detroit. I think they're on to something, and I think maybe if they don't reach their potential this year, I think they're going to be a little better next year. But this is a young team. I think has some potential to be good.
Oh, for sure. And Jared, what's your analysis on the pick? Sorry, you messed up my picks here. I'm freaking out on what else.
I mean, I don't blame it at all. Like, I think we're again, this is a point of the season where it's like, who knows what runs these teams could go on. And I think the Tigers, I think a lot of people were expecting them to take a little bit of a leap this year. I think, especially the last 30 games of last season, I think people really started to saw some things, and the youth in this team was really starting to develop. I think the Royals are the same thing, where we're waiting for the youth on this team to start taking like levels of progression. I think some people had the expectation of the Tigers. Obviously they haven't hit it so far, but maybe like they just need something to get them going. Maybe Miguel Cabrera, they could ride that momentum of him, recently getting his 3,000 fit, and they could try to help make one of his last seasons, if not maybe his last. Well, no, he's still got to get paid, so definitely not his last season. But maybe they could help make the last twilight years of his career at least somewhat respectable for the team stance. So I don't blame it. Like, they could definitely turn things around if they just bring it together. It's just all about like taking again. Like, I don't think you could go wrong with AL Central team. The division is weak. Like, you just need to go on a 3-week run and you'll be in first place. So.
Very much.
That's really all it takes is that last month of the year. It's who's going to win it. So, without further ado, Jerk bought me enough time when I figured out my pick. I am going to go with it. It hurts me to go with this pick because I don't really like this team like that. But because just the strategy they went with this year, it didn't really make sense to me. But they got the talent. I'm going to go with the Texans because they signed two. They spent the most money with two of these acquisitions, and one of my favorites, always an MVP candidate, Marcus Simeon, and then brittle paperman Corey Bellinger, who, in my opinion, did not deserve that contract whatsoever. I get why they did it, but he didn't deserve that contract whatsoever. Yeah, Seager. And but Mark Simmons deserved that contract. But aside from that, their issue is they just don't have the pitching, man. They still got a couple young kids that need to come up. They got a couple other decent players on the team, but aside from their two studs, they don't got much going on there. But those two studs could really carry this team. That's the thing. You got Adolis Garcia also in the outfield. So they got enough runs. They just don't have the pitching support. Jerk, you're grunting a little bit. You seem like I might have thrown off a plan there. Who do you go with for your pick now in the World Series draft?
You were close. You were in the same division, but you did not pick this team. I'm going to go with the Oakland A's. Moneyball.
I was thinking about them.
This is my analysis for the Oakland A's. Moneyball. Carry on.
Yeah.
Nothing else to say with this team, bro.
Oh, all right. You can't argue it. He saw a movie. Great movie, by the way. Either way, Jake, what is your pick now for the World Series draft? We're getting to the part where it's really
it's Bob with the barrel type stuff here.
By this point, they all
you're
have
putting on a blindfold. You're putting on a blindfold and throwing darts at a board. So just go.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to go with the Chicago Cubs down this low. Sayo Suzuki's been great for them. Nico Horaner, the Paul Wisdom, they have some good players over there. I think they have slightly more talent than kind of the rest of the rest of these teams, and that's where I'm going to put them here. Marcus Stroman hasn't been not what they've expected so far. Maybe he'll turn it around, but I think this is a good ranking for them at the kind of the bottom of that last tier of teams.
When Suzuki gets traded in like 2.5 years and he's on a real team, he's going to be a stud.
Yeah,
he's still great right now. But
oh my god!
You know what? The Cubs, I was looking at them and I'm like, they're way better than the respect I'm giving them right now. But just something about them, I was like, they don't got a shot to win it. I was like, I don't know why. I was like, Texas got more shot. They got my man.
Well, as of right now, the Cubs lead the MLB in OPS or on base percentage, OBS. So.
Hey, yeah, you're not wrong.
It is what it is.
So, without further ado, the next pick in the World Series draft is, this is just, I'm literally putting a finger down, and whoever gets it, gets it. Nope, not that team. They're
second to last round, by the way, for the viewers. This is the second to last round.
Yeah, we're just literally
you're doing it wrong, man. What's wrong with action figures?
Whoa, what is going on? Sorry, technical difficulties here, folks. No idea what that was. An ad just popped up. I'm a free Wi-Fi. Never use it. Either way, without further ado, the next
Hope we don't
pick
get a copyright claim.
Oh, the next pick is I really don't even have a pick, man. We're in the bottom of here. The Cincinnati Reds, because why not? You know, they just
You saved Jake. What was that? What was that?
you know, man, I don't know. I mean, you know. Oh wait, it's Jake's turn. No, it's my
No,
turn.
no. It's your turn. I'm saying the Reds should be the last team. Jake should be forced to take him, and you just took him. Why?
You know,
The
man,
forest,
because they were the name that popped up on my screen right now, bro. Like I said, I don't got the best setup. I don't got my
That's it?
monitors here.
Do you want to hear their
Me
record? Do you
doing
want to hear
the
their record?
ratings.
Do you just want to hear their record?
I do want to hear the record.
They're
You know what?
They're 3-16.
They got a shot. They're the best team to watch. Let me tell you. You know what? This is my reasoning. This is my reasoning.
3 of their
right
wins
here.
are coming Hunter. 2 of their wins.
This is my reasoning right here. When the Washington Nationals won the World Series, they were in last place in the MLB. So watch.
God.
Screenshot it now.
This is a team that salary dumped $11 million for Jesse Winker.
Oh my
Just
God.
so we know.
The Reds.
Oh, my turn? Okay, thank you. I don't know. I'm kind of stunned right now. I think give me a second here to just recover from that. Like, figure out who I want to pick. I think I know. Let me just confirm one thing about this team and make sure they're not a 2-win team.
Hey, 3.
I'm sorry. Give me the Kansas City Royals. You know, I think the Royals are 1 year behind what the Tigers are supposed to be. I think maybe in another year or two, the Royals will be higher on this list. But, you know, they could surprise me. They could have the season this year with the Mariners and Tigers had, where the last 30, 40 games of the season, they'll hit their stride. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're a fine team.
Jake, your turn.
Better than the Reds.
Yeah, give me the Pittsburgh Pirates at 26.
I'm just going for the Cinderella stories here, guys. That's it.
Pittsburgh's got a little bit of an offense, some young players like Brian Hayes and O'Neill Cruz coming up, and Brian Reynolds off to a slow start, kind of a really slow start. Very disappointing for a lot of fantasy owners, including myself. But yeah, the Pirates would be my pick here. They have some young players kind of in their farm. They have decent farm systems, some young players kind of in the MLB right now, so they'd be my pick at the bottom of the barrel here.
Bars, I love you, but what fairy tales were you reading when you were a kid? What fairy tales were you fucking reading when you were a kid? Cinderella wasn't that bad. Oh my God!
Let me tell you right now, man. Just never stop dreaming, kids. That's it. Look at me. You can have a podcast and be 39 episodes in if you never stop dreaming and recording in the middle of Indiana for no reason. Either way, with the next overall pick in this World Series draft,
last round, by the way.
Go with. Is this the last round? Thank God.
Yeah, there's only 3 teams left.
I'm gonna go with. I'm going with the Diamondbacks. You know, there's just no right or wrong answer here. Arizona, why not? They got Mad Bum. Let's see what happens. Make some magic. Jared,
okay.
With your last pick of the World Series draft, who do you take?
Jake, neither of us can be mad about either of these two teams because we didn't get the worst team in the league. So yay us.
Yeah, us. We won here.
I got the Dodgers in the beginning. All right, I was doing you a favor.
Yeah, calm down. I will go. Well, you were still going to pick the Reds no matter what, apparently. So let's go with I'll pick the Washington Nationals just because they got Juan Soto, they got Bell on their team. You know, the pitching.
I should have gone the Nationals.
Yeah, no, really. Now, should you have? But let me just roll with the Nationals just because between the two, if I'm going to pick the Nationals or the what's it called, the Orioles, I'm going to put money on the Nationals. And their pitching, their pitching needs a lot of work actually, but I'll still go with the Nationals.
Which means
I guess it's bringing us to the Baltimore Orioles, baby.
Let's go. Camden Yards. Camden Yards, baby.
Camden Yards. Gotta love Cedric Mullins and his under 200 batting average.
Oh, dude, you just knew he wasn't going to repeat it. Whoever drafted him in fantasy, a bunch of fools, let me tell you. Bunch of fools.
Yeah, the Orioles roster pretty much has no talent on it. I don't want to say no talent, but very little talent. They have some hope in Adley Rutschman when he comes up for catcher, but there's not much going on for them. They're at the bottom of the barrel for a reason.
They're a year away from being a year away from being a year away from being a year away. That's
pretty much.
And the only bright star they had of this season, they were hoping John Means was going to take that next step, and then now the man's getting Tommy John. So
yeah. It also doesn't hurt that the 3 top teams in their division are all offensive juggernauts.
Yeah, that too.
It doesn't really do them justice.
So, gentlemen, this was fun. It was, it got a little
this was a
messy
good
there
time.
towards the end, but I think everyone knew that's how it was going to wrap up. I like the results. I'm still not upset with my Cincinnati pick, whatever you may think.
Cinderella story, baby.
Okay.
Watch. Remember this moment. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to watch months from now when Cincinnati's top of their division. You're going to see.
It's like my Jaquan Brisker pick, Everyone needs a reach. Everybody needs a reach.
The fans like that one. Jerk, aside from Cincinnati, you got any final words?
I'm still thinking about that pick. I'm going to be thinking about the
aside
pick when
from
I was
it.
doing
I said
that.
aside from it.
No, aside from it, I mean, it's kind of safe. Like, I'm pretty confident. I think, I'm pretty confident. I think it was hard in the back half, but I still think we all picked some, solid enough teams, -1 pick specifically, where we could be happy with. I think this was fun at the end of the day. It was a different idea, and I think the beauty of this podcast is that, going forward with us being deep in the NFL offseason and Major League Baseball still being young, we could have some more fun with stuff like this. I think that's going to be the fun thing of Bunts and Bruises, which, by the way, if you somehow don't already, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bunts and Bruises. Go to the YouTube channel if you want to see the video version and the reaction of this. And, of course, if you want to hear us beautifully on audio, you can listen to us on Apple and Spotify, Google Play. You can listen to us on so many different things. This podcast is available. We've really made some traction. We appreciate all of you so much that have listened to the podcast so far. Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep listening. Keep sharing with your friends. We appreciate the people. This is a podcast for the people.
I couldn't have said it any better than myself. Jake, my man, once again, thank you for joining us. You're going to see us again, me and Jake, two handsome men. Sorry, Jared, you couldn't get involved in this one.
I'd have said the same thing. So,
next week. And we'll be joined by the one, the only, Stu, from the Morning Brew with Stu, and from Draft Report. And what's their football
Draft
one?
Capital?
Draft Capital,
Draft
NFL.
Capital?
Make sure you check that out because they were doing some cool mock drafts too. And also, we're joined from our old friends at OTBM. Couch Coach is also going to be joining next week. As I said, we're having a draft reaction episode. Speaking of the draft, it's starting in exactly 4 minutes and 20 seconds.
I'm not allowed on that episode. I feel some type of way. Dang, man. Dang.
I mean, hey, you started working for ESPN, and then Jake came in here with those beautiful blue eyes. What do you want me to do? I had to find a replacement. Either way, Jake, you got any last words for the fans before we head out this week?
No, I'm good. Much love for everybody.
There you go. You love to hear it. You love to hear it. A man of many words. Either way, like Jerk said, guys, please keep doing it. I got one thing to ask you this week. We're going to start doing something where I ask you fans of one thing every week. And this week, I'm going to have to agree with my man, Jerk. Start telling your mom, tell your dad, tell your friends. And if you could subscribe on Apple Podcasts,
watch out for the
Spotify,
Cincinnati Reds.
Those numbers, they help us out. And go ahead, hit that 5-star, leave a review. Say what you like, say what you don't like. Like Jerk said, we're here for the people. But yeah, spread the word, leave a review. Every follow is appreciated. Until then, we will see you next week, guys. Take care. Let's go, Giants.
Peace.